Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast. Shortly, we'll be joined by Lake Malice ahead of their UK tour, but before then, the usual reminders from myself. If you would, please do follow Full Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening. Well, absolutely delighted to welcome Lake Malice to the Full Pelt Music Podcast. We've got Blake and Elise, I hope I said that correctly, on the episode with us today. So obviously, exciting time for the band. You got your debut headline tour, literally as we speak, under 2 weeks away. So first question is, you must be really excited.
It's come around so quick, isn't it? Yeah, like I'm really, really excited actually. Like we've not been to some of these cities that we're playing for so long, it feels like for at least 2 years, some of them. And some we've never actually played before, like Sheffield, and I think there's a couple of others, isn't it? We've not played before. So like we're as you can tell, my memory of the gigs we've actually done is quite it's quite like unclear because it's so like it's been such a blur the last 2 years. We've done so many shows, but it's just really nice to be finally doing some shows that are our headlines.
Yeah, this is different. It's different from before. It's a whole other level of attention to detail that you want to put into things, and obviously like the pressure of you being the one who has to sell the tickets now, and the more we go on with time, the more we see like how people react, and it's really, really exciting and a bit daunting, but also like it outweighs, I guess, all the rest. It's really exciting.
Yeah,
Can't wait.
it's just like mind blowing to think that people would come and see us specifically spend like their evening for our band, because we still feel relatively new, and we've only done one headline show. We've done two, haven't we?
Yeah, but
Done two now, but that's still like a mind blowing concept to us to even headline a show. And it's really humbling. I'm really excited to meet people and just get out there again. And it's just being on tour is really fun, like we
got a nice little crew put together, and it's like going on a trip with friends usually, and that's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, for sure.
Be awesome.
Yeah. Well, Blake, I can't obviously blame you for not remembering everywhere you've been because, as you say, it's a blur. You've played so many shows over the last couple of years, supporting other bands, obviously festival shows. But like you say, headline tour, completely different kettle of fish. And you played your debut headline show was a great venue, the Black Heart in London, in Camden, one of my favourite places in the world, Camden, and that's one of the best venues there is the Black Heart. So obviously, how was that sort of first headline show, that first experience for you? How did it go?
Good.
It was so much fun. It was really stressful at first, and I think like because of was it that everything was running a little late during the day? Because
oh my god,
was it us or late?
It was us. Yeah, it's always us.
Traffic on the M5 was an absolute nightmare, and we were like, "Oh my god, this time, we're the ones who need to set the example and be there." And like, we were rushing so much, but
we had to work. Well, we both had to work, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we're like one of those things where it's like in advance, it sounds like that's going to be perfectly fine and doable. Like, okay, I'll work the morning, and then we've got time to get to London, whatever. And then on the day, it was like we were just so much more stressed than we thought we'd be. And obviously, as soon as you have to go anywhere in the UK that involves the M25, you're basically just setting yourself up for complete failure unless you leave 10 hours early. So, we ended up getting in like congestion, didn't we? And we got there super late. We were stressed out.
And then,
are we allowed to swear?
Yeah.
So we're super fucking stressed out.
Wow, so crazy.
I know. Yeah.
Naughty. We bought so many just silly, like, what was it, like inflatable things for the show, like to make it a bit like a party, end of year party, kind of thing. And we ended up spending so much time trying to like blow them. And we didn't like really evaluate. Like we bought the stuff, but then we didn't think of how long it will take to set everything up. And
it was more just like
how many
having
fake birds did we buy? Like
Oh
like
yeah, well, so we
inflatable.
had like a couple of in jokes that we wanted because like I think a lot of the people who were coming to that show were kind of like part of our Discord community, and there's just like all sorts of just really bizarre jokes and things like going on in that Discord. So we wanted to like do some stuff for them as well, I think, because like it's just been like mind blowing to have those people like part of our community and just like engaging with us like
Yeah.
over the last couple of years. And we just I thought we got a great connection with them. So yeah, like we had a lot of like in joke type parts of the set that I doubt we'll ever do again. But it was just like it was
Yeah.
good for that one-off show in a way. Like there was this remix of like a weird ad lib that Alice did while we were recording, where she was like, we were trying to record something and you ended up just like talking about how you want to own a bird. And like it was super weird and like it was hilarious. Like we just like, it was just like a weird thing that happened in a session. And then we put like a clip of it online and then our mate John remixed it. And like it sounded sick. Like it was like it turned into like a
It was
dance
like an
anthem.
EDM track
An EDM track, yeah.
based on the concept of owning a bird.
Yeah.
Had so many like these kind of inflatable seagulls.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
can
we
take
played
this out
that.
of the podcast. I don't think anybody will understand.
I think it's kind of good to give it context because I bet
Yeah.
people there who were not part of the Discord that were like, why are there inflatable seagulls flying into my face? Why is there a giant slice of pizza hitting me in the back of the head every 5
because
seconds?
it's fun.
And yeah, I guess that was like a throwback to your Italian
Yeah.
heritage. But like, yeah, it was just a fun celebration, wasn't it? The show. We'd done so much that year, and we were like, we just released our debut EP, and it was like, it was just a good celebration of all that stuff, really, and it came right at the end of the year, so it was like a good way to round it all off.
Yeah.
It turned out fine in the end. Put despite all the stress, it was a really enjoyable show, wasn't it? It's really good.
Yeah, no, I'm glad it all played out well in the end, and I do love a good Easter egg. So I'm sure the fans from your Discord really appreciated that attention to detail, which is a phrase you've just used a moment ago as well, which is fantastic. Because as we sort of dig through this, probably find out I'm quite a geek in relation to a lot of things. But set lists is definitely one of them, and that's where I'm heading next. So over on our Discover New Music podcast, we have a regular section called Set List Science. And I'm going to bring it over to this podcast today. And the core question of it is, how much attention do you pay to the structure of your set lists? And have you got any rules that you tend to follow?
Interesting.
I mean, we do quite a lot, don't we? We want to have a kind of flow in the show that makes sense, right? So because most of our songs are quite high energy, but then there's a few that, bring the level of energy, maybe like a different. You're better than me at explaining this.
I mean, from my perspective, the set is designed around how much time you need to warm up for the really hard to sing songs. So we shove the belters at the end generally. And that's kind of,
it was like that, but yeah, we started tweaking it a bit.
We've changed it up a lot. Like because we run our set through a session on a laptop using a music software program. Because we use like things like click tracks and we use certain instruments on backing tracks. So that kind of in a way is like this always running thing for our entire set. We have to program all that in advance. So when it comes to, like a tour, we're probably not really going to change things up at that tour because it would be a lot of disruption to, like the way we run our show essentially. And that coupled with, like, okay, well, what makes sense, like energy wise, what makes sense in terms of, warming up. We kind of have we had it down to a T, I think, last year, and it didn't really change too much. But we were dying to mix it up because we gigged almost the same set list for the entire year, and we didn't actually have that many songs either at the time, so it was kind of like hard to switch things out because it was like, well, this works, and it's like any other combination would potentially, just wouldn't be as smooth. So, but now we've got some new stuff. Really happy that we've been able to really completely mix it up for our headlines tour in March. So but yeah, does
Yeah.
that answer the question? It's
No,
quite,
absolutely does. Yeah, I love it. I can see that you obviously do put some thought into it, which is the main thing I'm really looking for in an answer for sure on this one. And along obviously the live track still, you've supported a number of bands. You know, I could list off a load of bands that you've played live with over the last couple of years. Obviously, some of them I would say are amongst the best live bands out there at the moment. Obviously, Skindred, Enter Shikari in particular, I noticed. How much attention, obviously, as a younger band, do you pay to the bands that you're touring with, especially of that ilk? You know, and are you looking at what you can learn from them?
A lot. I think like during the Shikari tour, we watched them every night. Like there's not been one time that we didn't, yeah, we watched the show every night, and every time there's something new to learn. Um, even on not just about like how to perfect everything, even how to deal with mistakes and stuff like that. I think like it's been essential. And you also learn that there's so many things that you think others are really good at improvising at, while in the end the truth is everybody's just very well prepared, and everything is like kind of set up in advance in order for it to go very smoothly. So yeah, it's big learning curve, and I always look at front people to see how they interact with the crowd, because crowd interaction has always been quite tricky for me. Like I'm just a very anxious person, so I tend to look up a lot to other people to figure out how to handle that part of things, and and be confident and get people to have fun. Mostly that's the main thing.
yeah, definitely, yeah.
Mm.
I would agree. Yeah, there's not really much more I could add to that other than, like you said, like it looks sometimes the show that people experience feels like it's maybe improvised to some degree, but really it's like controlled chaos, isn't it? Like like we've the number of bands we've toured with where that their front person will like prepare either a script and they'll say pretty much the exact same thing every single night, but the way that they deliver it, it feels so raw in the moment, and it's really inspiring how you can put together a show that is not just like a band playing their songs live. It's more of like a way of delivering, like a message or showing how a band can be just more than just like what you hear on the record. It's like a different side to them almost. And my God, like Shikari were like so. They're probably like. I just had so much inspiration seeing them every night. I think you're right. Like bands like Skindred and Shikari are they must be the best in their game for like how you deliver a live performance, in terms of the continuity and how it flows together.
Production elements
Yeah,
as well.
like
God, yeah.
there's so much they put into that show that really just propels it to something beyond just playing the songs, that you've heard at home on your speakers, like to this, how this flows together. And it's definitely inspired us into how we transition between songs and how we introduce new songs and things like that. Um, yeah, and when we toured with a band called Bloodywood last year, um, they were really good at kind of rallying like everybody in the room behind a message, and I think that's rubbed off on us a little bit, like in terms of like our song Creepers, like we kind of like we got a lot of inspiration into how we can, we can take what we're singing about and actually push the message even further and make everyone in the room feel included and part of something bigger than just, a show. And it's really inspiring. And I think there's so much we want to do with that live performance side of it, because we're really inspired by like the mega pop stars like Lady Gaga or like Charlie XCX. And I feel like when you've got budget, there's so much you can do to make it feel like you're witnessing something, truly like unique and special. And like there's a lot of ideas that we've got that I hope to be able to do one day with more money. But
Yeah.
for now, it's just kind of like a pipe dream. But our tour is quite in quite relatively small venues, so we're kind of, we're not able to really throw loads of budget at it. But yeah, hopefully in the future.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're well on your way. I've managed to catch you, I want to say 4 or 5 times already at either supporting shows or festivals. So I'm really looking forward to the headline tour. I'm going to be coming along to a show, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do, because the show that you've put together already is such an immersive experience. And yeah, I can only imagine what you're going to be able to do with a headline show. So obviously, listeners to the podcast, there will be a link in the bio of the episode, and I strongly encourage everyone to follow it through, find a show near to you, and come along and check out the headline tour, because it's history as well. The first headline tour from a band that I'm sure are going to go off to do massive, massive things. So it's one of those I was there moments, hopefully. So definitely, definitely get on that. And obviously, the majority of the songs that are going to be making up the set list, I would assume, are going to come from post Genesis. So your debut EP that actually won our EP of the year for the last year as well, 2023, which the fans for the first time got involved in the voting for that as well, which was really nice for us to be able to do and get out there. So obviously, really well deserved. It's a fantastic EP, and obviously for you now, it's been out a little while. You can kind of take stock at this point, I guess. And obviously looking back now, how has the experience been for you to put out that obviously first sort of body of work?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. That's really, really kind. And thank you to everyone who listens to your podcast for voting. That's incredibly humbling and and kind of you. I mean, I think like the EP was something that was so like such a long time coming for us that we almost felt frustrated last year that we didn't have more time to work on it, and we couldn't have got it out even sooner, because we're not very, I don't think we're particularly great. We've not yet mastered how to like write and record and do all that side of the band while also being like an active gigging band. We've been struggling to sort of juggle both of those things. So it was a bit of like a, in a way I was like, oh, I'm worried that people are just gonna like almost be annoyed at us for releasing an EP with mostly songs that are kind of already out. Like it was only a couple of songs that were new. But actually, what ended up happening is that we got a couple of the songs completely remixed, and obviously we tied it up in this branding of this post Genesis branding with that really powerful artwork, and to get that done as a vinyl as well, which we'd never done before, was actually super rewarding, and it really felt really special when we did that. And it was like, actually, no, this is cool. Like I feel this is a really cool offer. It kind of like summarizes where we got to musically in our journey so far, before we kind of develop that sound even further. So I'm actually really, really proud of it, and I'm glad it kind of worked out that way in some respects, even though there were frustrations about it.
I think sometimes we tend to be hard on ourselves, but then the reality of things is you do what you can do, and we definitely did our best. I think it's been a difficult year, and it's been a busy year, and at the end of the day, what we managed to do was to put out a body of work, which was our first body of work. And I think some of those songs do have connection between each other, so I think it made a lot of sense to have it all under one message, one cohesive message. And it's been very satisfying, and to hold it the physical product in your hands, that's been pretty crazy for the first time, because we saw it for the first time when we went on tour with Shikari, because we didn't see it physically up until we got the delivery for the merch there. We didn't have the test pressing, so that was kind of crazy. Some people probably saw it before we did. It was pretty mad.
I mean, I've never actually released any music physically before, like my entire career, so that for me that was like quite an incredible achievement, just because I feel like music is such like a battle of your own sort of self-belief in some ways, that to actually get to that point where you've invested and you've put it out, and you've it's gone through the rigorous sort of process of like your own quality, like checks, because at least for me as like a songwriter, I never think what I do is good enough. So to get to that point where it's like, here's a body of work, all these songs that I'm happy with, and that they're out, that was really fulfilling. So even if like nobody did like it, it was still like an incredible achievement for me on a personal level.
Yeah.
And I hope it's not the last. Obviously, we've got.
I'm sure it's not.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope it's not the last either, and I'm sure it won't be. And yeah, it must be absolutely just vindication, really, for obviously everything that you've put into it to see the success that it has. Because obviously people have liked it. Clearly from the fans helping to vote for it for being our EP of the year. But I know obviously it's got a lot of accolades from a lot of publications. So it's absolutely fantastic and obviously well deserved. And I just want to put a spotlight on one of the songs. So if listeners are listening to this and haven't listened to it yet, which it would be mad, if they haven't. But Power Game is the latest focus track from it. Really, the video's just come out for it. So I'm going to move on to music videos in just a moment because it's a bit of a passion of mine. So before we do, just to give a flavour of that song, what can you tell us about Power Game? What are the themes behind the song and how did it all come together for you?
Power Game. Well, I spent a really difficult year, a couple of years, and I wrote a lot about what I've gone through in different situations. And Power Game is about literally like power dynamics, and it's stuff that happens like, on a daily basis where there's always like this balance between, obviously in the type of society where we live in, it's always going to be like that. There's always going to be somebody that's got some power over you, and some people are good at being leaders, others are just taking advantage of that power and take advantage of the people who are the most vulnerable sometimes. And I've experienced it so much that I got to a point where I was like, I need to write a very angry song about it. And most of those songs in the EP as well, like they're all just like kind of a big, what do you call it, like valve
Yes.
to let anger out, something like that.
Oh, like a big like release.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah. So Power Game, but its concept originated from literally just personal experience of manipulative behavior on a regular basis in different environments. So that's been mainly like what started it all. But musically speaking, I think it all started with like, as usual, just like a couple riffs and
Can't even remember how that one started.
Yeah.
As usual with most of our songs, we end up with like a loop, I think that one I remember it was like we had a weird synth, quite a basic synth sound actually.
Really?
Yeah, and it was just like a very simple loop, enough for you to be able to write some lyrics, some melodies over it.
Melody, yeah.
We just looped it, and then I think over that 4-bar loop, I think you wrote both the verses and the chorus.
Oh yeah, and then
I took it away and was like, now I need to turn what you just sung into a song. And then I changed it 70 million times and then finally settled on what you.
That's usually how it goes. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we probably wrote that one quite like I think it was actually 2022, like sort of Christmas 2022, wasn't it? We usually end up like writing like 3 or 4 like of our like songs that we really love, all in the space of like a week or two. We get like a weird bout of creativity, and then we end up having to sit on them for like ages until we can actually finish them and get them sorted. So yeah, we were sitting on that. I remember sitting on it for a long time. That one.
Yeah, the amount of guests I speak to that share that frustration when they obviously write something that they just want to share with the world, and because of the way the industry works, they have to sit on it for so long before they can get it out. But obviously, thankfully, it is out, and it's a great song. Obviously, again, listeners, if you haven't seen the song, go and check the video out because it's got a great video, as a number of the songs on the EP have, and I love that because I said I'm a geek, and one of the things I'm a geek about is music videos. So I grew up, before school, after school, watching music television, Krag and Scuzz and MTV and everything like that. And it's a dying, if not lost art these days, to the point where the amount of, especially newer bands that I talk to over on the Discover New Music podcast in particular, I go and look for a video so I can talk to them about a video, and there isn't one because it's the first thing that gets cut from the budget. I was like just a kid in a candy shop looking on YouTube earlier today, again, at all of the great videos you've got. So rather than focusing in on one of them in particular, I normally do, just in general, how important obviously is it to you to obviously put these packages together and put them out with your music?
Yeah,
I mean, we're
sure.
both quite creative, so we enjoy the process of coming up with something that is visual that goes within the sound. And, um, like for us, it's yeah, I think it's essential to have a bit of a something to accompany all of that because I don't know if it's because because we're well aware of how things are changing, and it's maybe that's not the main way people discover us, but at the same time, it's just another form of self-expression in a way, and it does just adds value to it in a way that other things can't just, do for the song. Yeah, we are exploring like different ways obviously to like do that in the future, but I think like so far it's just, it's just worked out in a very cool way to collaborate with, because we've got like a videographer that we work with usually, and it's, he works with relatively small budgets, so it's like been quite doable for us to do it. It's called Lucky Films, and he really like works so hard on things, even if you have a very small team, because it's always just been us arranging pretty much all of it and he shoots it. But from the concepts to the scripts to the storyboarding and all of that, that's like just us. And in a way you can tell that like we're not obviously film directors, but we just took that on as something to try a few times, and we had a lot of fun and we just kept doing it, I think.
I feel like music videos just make songs better, though, don't they?
Yeah.
Like if you got if you just you have some any visual really like of that artist like playing that song to go with it, like it adds so much more like impact, doesn't it? Like I mean, most people do consume music algorithmically, I suppose. Um, but I think, I think it's really, really important to us as a band to explore that song's identity visually, because it doesn't feel right to just put a song out and then that's it. Like it feels like it's only part of the experience that you can offer. Some of the videos we've done, I don't think we've actually been able to really explore that as well as we could have done because of, like you were saying, like we're a small band, we don't have a lot of budget, and there's don't really have much of a team, and it's
there's definitely times where maybe like not doing it is better when you don't,
sometimes
when you have so many constraints, and then we're always being like, no, we're gonna do it anyway, and then and then like we couldn't do half of the things that we wanted, or so like in a way, some artists maybe are wiser. But
I think like you though, Paul, like I grew up, like we both grew up like with like the music videos like Kerrang, like TV and Scars and all that. And it was like that was the only way really to get a gateway into who that band is, their identity, and that branding, and it said so much about them, just being able to see who they were and how they portray themselves and want to be seen. I think it's a mix of probably it's just a habit, because we from that generation we feel like it's the right thing to be doing. But I think you're also like dead on that, like the money really, that it's a dying art, because the way that people are creating content now is so like driven by what is expected for, like what the algorithm dictates it needs to be successful on the platforms, that it's just simplified so much. And it becomes quite disposable. I think there's nothing particularly unique to the content that I come across from newer bands. They all seem to be doing the same thing, and it's doing well for the algorithm, but what's it really saying about their music? And I think that we as Lake Malice, so I feel like we try to aspire to be something that is immersive. I feel like our songs are not necessarily super grounded in reality sometimes, that we try to aspire to be something larger than that, and I think the videos enable us to embody that message in different ways. Yeah, and I know we get a lot of our, even if the video doesn't do particularly well on YouTube, because it's not, you know, a platform that we get discovered on particularly well, you know, just because it's just harder that way. But we still get all of our content for social media from the video shoots anyway. You know, we get some cool, you know, like outfit, like promo shots and, you know,
So
things like
much that you can
that.
get out of it.
Yeah, you can get a lot out of it. So for us, it's kind of it's really key that we go and do one, because if we don't do it, then you know it's, as a content creator and provider, essentially is what you are as a band these days. It's where is your content coming from? It's you know, it's the key generator for that for us. But yeah, and like you say, it's also
Unless you're great at TikTok, which
what
we're not. So
we know we should do more of TikTok. But
yeah,
that's not how I want to spend my time
just don't have
ultimately, you know.
enough hours in
I
a
feel
day.
like we shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't have to. And I don't understand TikTok whatsoever. Just cannot get my head around it. But yeah, music videos, I can. I absolutely love. Like you say, it just builds a bigger connection between you and the band. You know, it just you know, you can identify, you know, traits that you like in the band. And I mean, I can remember like going clothes shopping as a young, you know, teen and whatnot, and obviously trying to pick out outfits similar to, you know, what I've seen in music videos, you know,
Yeah.
and it just helps build that connection that is lost so much these days. But I think you are doing it so well, so I appreciate it, and yeah, please keep doing it. And
As long as we're not, yeah, as long as we have the budget, we plan to.
Yeah.
But they're not cheap, unfortunately.
No, nothing is these days, particularly at the minute, unfortunately. And obviously, you know, that will be a factor for fans, you know, that potentially I'm pushing to try and come along to a show. Perhaps, you know, money is tight. Obviously, you know, there's been a couple of shows go on sale recently that I've bulked at the price of, you know, Pearl Jam and AC/DC, like hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Obviously, you're not charging that. So, you know, if you're a fan that is sort of, no, I can't afford those shows, please do try and pop along and support, you know, grassroots venues, you know, independent bands, obviously, that are pushing themselves out there, because it's such a brave thing to be doing in the climate. So, yeah, listeners, definitely try and come along to a show. But obviously, a great way to catch Lake Malice if you can't come to a show is, of course, festivals. I've caught you at a few, and you've been smashing the festival sets. The one I'm going to pinpoint for fans coming up is Takedown in April on the main stage on the Saturday. Fans definitely need to go along and check that out. The lineup on that stage in particular, you got Creeper, Cassiette, Dream State, Employed to Serve, obviously Lake Malice, and it's just a great lineup. And one as well that I noticed is just packed full of fantastic female artists as well, which is so rare for, you know, any festival really to be putting the spotlight on obviously female talent in such a way. So obviously I encourage listeners to go down to that, and you must again be like over the moon to be playing on such a bill like that.
Yeah, I've never been down before.
Yeah, but yeah,
I've heard of it, obviously.
so hyped, yeah. And there's
yeah.
so many artists that we also look forward to seeing. And we've seen before, and we never get tired of seeing. So like, yeah, it's gonna be a wild one, definitely.
Yeah, that stage, like you said, the main stage looks bonkers. Actually.
Yeah, and by April, I think it will be a while since we last played a festival in general. So like, it's really good to get back into the atmosphere of meeting other artists and having like completely different, you know, kettle of fish than you know, your own tour. Definitely. There's always like this kind of buzzing atmosphere. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, like especially like
At
during the
first,
winter.
usually I hate it, and then I love it. You know, festivals, it's like, especially if you work from home, and we both do, and you're used to seeing nobody, and then you're thrown into this like chaos of like, hey, how you doing? Like everybody around you, just
Quite draining,
it's
aren't they?
draining, but like then you get into it after a while, and it's yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, like the idea of like dogs crying. Sorry, it's probably gonna be picking that up in the audio. But yeah, like now, right now, like in the middle of sort of like, well, almost like winter, isn't it? Really, still. The idea of just like being in like 25-degree weather or something, like, you know, in the middle of a field, surrounded by like a good like buzzing atmosphere, like
Yeah,
it's just like
I
it.
miss that.
It's so, yeah, like I'm so looking forward to just, even if we don't play, you know, if we're not playing at one of the festivals, just going to one and just being, you know, in that
Just
atmosphere.
enjoying it.
It's so much
Yeah.
fun. Yeah,
Mm.
it's just nice, isn't it, to be a part of. Like Takedown is a new one for us. So yeah, really like it's really close as well. Our live drummer lives in Portsmouth, so
Mm.
it's right on her doorstep. Yeah, it should be really cool. I'm looking forward to like it feels like quite early for a festival actually, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very keen. Very, very keen.
Yeah, no, absolutely encourage listeners to head down to Takedown. And obviously the headline tour as well. Best way to stay up to date with a band is on social media these days. I always give out the social handles on the podcast, and they should flash up on certain platforms as well. And you've made my life really easy because it is literally the band's name, Lake Malice. Simple, happy
Very
days. Thank you for that. So often there's 3 or 4 different ones to give out,
No,
underscores galore and all that kind of stuff, but you've nailed it. So
there's no other Lake Malice. I looked.
That was a deciding factor in the band name. Was like, well, how many of them are there? It's like, oh, there's none. Seems like a
Yeah.
good idea then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. You've nailed it. And yeah, you've nailed everything. Obviously, post Genesis, listeners check that out as well. And the headline tour. So much to obviously keep track of, so much that's going to happen in the future. It's been great chatting with you. We've got one final question, which is something we brought in about a year ago now on this podcast, because we kept naturally talking about issues within the industry. They kept coming up on the podcast. So I decided to take us into fantasy land slightly to finish things off. And I'm going to give you a magic wand. And with that magic wand, you can change one thing about the music industry, but one thing only. And it's really tough. There is 2 of you, so I might be kind and let you have a couple, one each maybe. But with your magic wand, what would you change about the music industry?
So actually, there's so many things.
So many, yeah.
There's a lot of pressure.
I mean, this is gonna be like maybe it's a bit political, but I'd change Brexit. I'm sorry, like, because it's so connected to music industry when you tour around and makes everything so freaking more complicated, stupid, and expensive, and just overly complicated, I think. Like, so I take that as, yeah, that's my magic wand, like for everything. It's a cure for everything, not just for the music industry. I mean, probably not. It's a bit simplistic to think about it that way. But yeah, let's go back. Let's change that and make touring easier and cheaper. And
It's a good one.
that's sorry.
No, that's a really good one.
No, it's a
Yeah.
good
I
one.
mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of faff touring outside the UK now because of that.
Yeah, so stupid.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Hmm.
More pressure on you now, Blake. Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about like the other day, like not that specific question, but like about this thing I'm about to say. Like, and it's like, so basically, this last 2 years, we've been so lucky to do what we've been doing that I've just been like kind of, but at the same time, it's been so expensive. You know, financially, it's been really tough. We were actually really fortunate to just be awarded some grant funding through this thing called it's like a growth export scheme for
Yeah.
for UK bands, which is like an absolute lifesaver for us. So we can now afford to tour internationally without being completely bankrupt, essentially, just for a little bit, which is it's a godsend. And yeah, I kind of wish that maybe there was more support from the UK government, for breaking, for emerging bands, to be able to inject funding, more broadly, that was more easy to access this money, or there's more money available. Because I'll be honest, I have a full-time day job and it's great, but it's not where my heart lies. I want to be doing music full time, and it's incredibly hard and stressful to be juggling what is essentially 2 jobs. On top of all your other like life, kind of commitments and things. So yeah, I feel like there was a way of supporting musicians to be full time, who weren't quite at that level.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you need the
know,
magic wand for that, to be
the-
honest. So like it's quite
Yeah.
unrealistic.
But yeah, I feel like there was so much
Yeah.
more we could have done with our project in the last 2 years had we had more time and energy to be able to do it. And it's
for sure.
really the amount of like, you know, and if that's too hard to achieve, then maybe that, you know, more of a push for like mental health support, because it's been so taxing on us, and mentally draining, you know, doing this. And though it's an absolute privilege and a dream, it doesn't come out. It doesn't, you know, it's not without its you know, sort of darker like moments where things do feel overwhelming and tough, you know. And I feel like there should be more awareness, more support for, you know, for people who are involved in music, because it's you know, to go on tour for a month and then come back to normal life. Let me tell you, it's I fucking like insane. It's really jarring.
You need a group of people who just, you know, like meet up after
Yeah,
on tour and talk about how they feel.
it's just, yeah, it's crazy, like
Like the
what
AA.
it does to you,
Yeah.
like, quickly, that all that adrenaline every day, and then suddenly not have it. It's quite extreme, and yeah, I feel like there could be more support generally. The industry doesn't feel like it gets a lot of support from the government, and I wish there was more. So that's mine.
Yeah, it absolutely doesn't, does it? And yeah, I love it. Touring Artists Anonymous. I think that's a good scheme
Yeah.
that should get some funding and get going. Some great answers there. And obviously, yeah, we can only wish that magic wand was real. But hey, there's a general election coming up, so that might change things. That could be a magic wand of some sort, couldn't it? So yeah, absolutely. Loved this chat. I say caught you live a few times, so listeners definitely need to do that. Go and catch you live. Listen to the EP, and just follow you on social media. Stay up to date with everything that's going to come, because there's going to be a hell of a lot coming from Lake Malice in the coming years. I always love just to throw the final message to the guests. So, what would be your final message for the listeners today?
Come see us on tour in March. We're playing everywhere, so you've got no excuse.
Yes.
If you live in the UK, that is.
In the UK.
Yeah, if you live in like Iceland, then you're probably out of luck. But
somebody coming from Sweden, like
to
the
be
Sheffield
fair,
show.
yeah.
And in Sheffield, we got like 3 tickets left, been told yesterday. So like, if you're around the area, get them now.
Well, we've also got like, depending on when this airs, is this going to go live before next week? Or next Thursday?
Monday, hopefully.
Monday. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I mean, check in with us like this week for some really cool announcements. We got 2 really cool things to share.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of stuff come in, and hopefully we'll see you at a show. We love to chat to people at shows. So if you are coming along to a show, then definitely come say hi. Yeah. And thank you for listening.
Yeah, absolutely delighted to have you on. Thank you so much for coming on.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed that chat there with Lake Malice. Please do make sure you follow the band across social media to stay up to date with everything coming from them. And of course, head along to a show if you can. Also, you can follow Full Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt, and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And finally, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, whatever you're watching or listening, because we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast.